Good evening again. Welcome and thank you all for joining IWA's webinar. My name is Cardella and I am your host tonight. When we started IWA's webinar last year during the COVID time, I realized that learning together is actually fun. We can grow as a person, develop our knowledge base, and improve our skills and market know-how for the better. Also, learning something new gets us access to new different opportunities and the chance to try new experiences that can influence the way we do things day to day, and it make it quicker and easier, saving time, energy, and stress. With this reason, I am committed to invite trainers, business mentors, business leaders, and people who are expert in their field to share their knowledge and experiences with all of us. Tonight, our guest speaker is someone very close to my heart. She is not only a super business mentor, but she is also a life coach, a supporter to women empowerment, and I can say someone who is always ready to support others. I can tell you a lot of things about her, but I think I need 20 minutes or more to do that. And so I will just make it short and snappy. She is the Group Executive Director of Hadarat Global, CEO and founder of Training Excellence South Africa, CEO of Orbrix Dubai, an award-winning serial entrepreneur, mother and wife to our very supportive husband, Brother Rashid. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Hawa Charfaray.
Thank you very much, Cardella. It's an amazing introduction. I really appreciate it. And thank you to all of you who have given up so much of your time to actually be here today. I really appreciate it. And just one correction, I think it's more of a support that I get from Rashid than he actually gives, than I give to him. So, you know, like I say, always, they say behind every successful man, there's a woman. In my case, I think behind my success, there's definitely a man. And I applaud him, I respect him, and not only is he a life partner, but he's also my business partner. So just something for you as women who are building your careers, who are in your careers, it doesn't mean as well that you even need a man to be able to succeed. Although in my case, I won't say that I need him, but I do love the fact that he's there and enjoy it. So thank you very much, Cardella, for that. Once again, thank you, everyone. There's a lot of names that I see. There are some names I see that are new. So welcome, and I look forward to getting to know you better. I'm going to go straight into the session today, but I'd like it to be as interactive as possible. I don't want this just to be a training session. I don't want to be doing most of the talking. I'd rather cover quality than quantity tonight, because the topic we are talking about, as you can see, is strategic planning, and particularly in a very changing or transformative environment. But if I look at strategic planning, ladies, and I see we have some gentlemen, so a round of applause for the gents who's joining us and supporting us. And also we have Mr. Atik Mohammed, who is also very good from a coaching perspective, who supports many women. And I thank you for being here as our supporter as well. So coming back to the strategic planning, we could go on for days. And I won't say hours, I'll say days when we talk about this particular topic, because when we look at what strategic planning is, it's not just only about a business, although today we're focusing on business. But if you get it right on an individual level, business then becomes much easier. So I always like to look at strategic planning as a model, which I call the ABC model, where you look at A as a kind of a position of where you are at the moment. Diagram of a picture where A is where you are at in your life right now. But A represents two poles to where you are at the moment. One pole is the things that are actually working for you. And because of norm, we will call that the positives in your life. So all the things that are working for you. But the other end of your pole, of course, the opposite of a positive would be a negative, but we're going to call that your challenges. And that's the areas of your life or your business or your work that's not working for you. And when you look at strategic planning, that's the A of the strategic planning, where you first have to look at where are you? Where are you currently right now in your life, in your business, or wherever you are? B, on the other hand, is where do you want to go to? So B is actually having a vision. It's having a kind of a idea of where is it exactly that you're wanting to get. But when you get there, all right, what are the things that you need to consider that you might not have needed to consider while you were at point A? An example would be is, let's say you are currently in, well, let's use Suzette. Suzette, you're currently in New York, right? So being in New York,
Washington, D.C.
Washington, D.C. There
yes.
we go. To be exact, that's where she is. She's in Washington, D.C., and she wants to get to Dubai. So her point A is looking at where she is in Washington, D.C. She's looking at what she has that's working for her, but she's also looking at the things that are not currently working for her. Because if everything 100% was working for her, she might say, I don't need to move. There's no reason for me to go anywhere. There's no reason for me to do anything. Let's consider this as a vacation. This time you are in point A, you're going to look at what you have and you're going to look at what you don't have. That's point A. Point B is, where do you want to go? You want to go to Dubai. So now you got to look at, what does Dubai have that I possibly will need to have when I get there? Because when I get there, maybe the hotel I'm going to stay at does not have self-catering. So I need to have additional budget to ensure that my meals are covered, as an example. So that is point B, where you evaluate not only the idea of what you want, but you also look at the environment and you study the environment of where it is that you're wanting to go. And remember, when we talk of where you want to go, it doesn't have to be a physical location. It can even be, for example, a point in your life or a point in your business that you are working towards. So that is B. Now comes C. The question is, I know what I have, I know what I want, and that is your B. The question is, how do I get there? What do I need to do? What analysis do I need to create in order for me to get there? So it's a very simple model when we look at strategic planning. And the problem with many of us in business is we make it so difficult and so complicated that we keep putting it off on our agenda to do. So looking at strategic planning, I make it very simple. It's an ABC model. It's analyzing where you are at the moment. It's analyzing where you're wanting to go or what it is you're wanting to do, and then how to actually get there. So I'm going to share my screen now to take you through a very quick presentation. But while I'm doing that, just some feedback from you as an audience, and please unmute yourself and anybody can answer, is I'd like to find out who here in the group has already done a strategic plan for yourself or for your business. Who would like to share that experience with me?
So I can give a brief sort of what I've done for my business in terms of planning, in terms of looking at the 3-year plan, the 5-year plan, right? And how I want to grow the business. And more specifically, looking at how the brand will change from that 3-year to 5-year. So for example, in my coaching elements, will I do a masterclass? Will I offer a canned product and service that people can look at, virtual in terms of technology? Because just trying to pivot, I think is the word, with the climate right now, because really everything has become very virtual based. So learning how to change my strategy, because, COVID really changed a lot of things. So, my strategic plan really has to map to my climate in which I operate. Yeah.
Right. Okay, perfect. Wonderful. So you've attempted it, you've done it. And I'm going to ask you one last question before I move to the next person. Have you found it challenging?
Yes, because there were some components of it that I didn't expect to happen, which was so much of that virtual and technology-based pieces
Right.
because there's not a whole lot of in-person anymore. So learning how to be able to come up with technology platforms to support my strategy. Yes.
Perfect. Fantastic. Okay, great. So we're going to tackle some of those challenges here today as well, because some of you have either done a strategic plan, you either got stuck, you completed it, or some of you have just taken it, done it, completed, and you were so proud. Remember that feeling that some of you have completed? But then what happened is it went into file 13 and it just never got looked back until something happened. Something went wrong. Then you went to go and relook at it. Is there anyone else who would like to quickly share before I move on to the presentation? And it's okay, don't be shy. Okay, I just want to confirm that you all can see my screen and it's in full view, correct? You can all see that, yeah?
Yeah, I can see.
Okay, great. Okay.
Yes, I can see.
Great. If there's anyone else who'd like to share, please feel free to raise your hand and we can then go through it. So you can see my full view of the screen, and let's just quickly go through the program outline. I have to tell you that the outline I'm taking you through, we might not have time to cover everything today. But of course, I'm going to cover the main aspects. And as I always tell Kadela, this isn't my last session with IRES. We can always have more, and we can always get, more sessions on this. I'm quite happy to do that, especially for the IRES members and the team. So one thing that we're definitely going to look at is an introduction to strategic planning. Then we're going to go into designing your vision and your mission for those of you who haven't. And those of you who have already designed it, the question that I want you to start asking yourself, because there's a checklist. Do I have everything in there? Because a lot of people don't understand the difference between the vision and the mission. And remember, your vision is actually your point. Remember, we spoke about ABC. Your vision is actually your B that you're wanting to get to, where it is, what it is that you want, and really analyzing what is it that you truly want. And here we're going to encourage you to completely dream big. That's what we want to encourage you to do when we're doing the vision. Then it looks at very briefly developing of values, and because that's the easy part, I'm not going to spend too much of time on that today, but at least I want to get to a point of where we discuss how to identify our prioritizing strategic objectives, because that's going to give us the methodology as to how we achieve things on our strategic plan. So there is much more to the design of the strategic plan, but of course, if we get time, we'll get onto the action plan, but if not, I'll always send you notes and we'll continue whenever we have another session that we need to go through. However, I want you to see the big picture of a strategic plan is that it's not just about a vision and a mission. It's about actively taking part and completing what you plan to do in your strategic plan, right? So what I like about this, if you look at the guy on the right-hand side, he's all over. And we've seen these guys, some of them are you, some of them is me. We're on that board when we're doing strategic planning and we got great ideas and we're brainstorming and we're doing great maps. But when we look at it simply, it is the planning where an organization, or even I put a person, is going over the next year or even more and how it's going to get there. So remember the ABC model. A is what you have right now, B is where you want to be, and C, of course, is the methodology of how you're going to actually get there. The most important part about ABC is the action of what you're going to do, because just having the plan, putting it in file 13 means absolutely nothing. I love this diagram because it gives you an idea here in terms of you with your plan. You're having your strategic goals, but you will also have strategic issues. You've got your objectives. And as you can see, it's not really a straight path, but when you actually get there to get to your goal, you'll realize that if you don't know where you are going, it doesn't matter which way you go. You can go through this route, whichever way you go, it doesn't matter. But if you don't know what you're looking for at the end, your whole strategic plan means absolutely nothing. And in a very transformative world that we are in, especially with COVID, things are going to change. So you need to make sure that part of your plan is to build in what possible strategic issues there are going to be. what are the risks that will be involved when you are moving from one point to another? And more importantly than identifying the risks, you will see is an actual sheet. And I've got a template for this where you're going to have a risk mitigation template. And a risk mitigation template is, here's the risks that I identify, but here's how I intend to mitigate it as and when it happens. For many during COVID, in 2019, when we got hit with COVID, many companies kind of just completely shut down. And one of the main reasons most of you who's gone through that will know is because you did not take into consideration in your strategic plan the possible risks. Now, we could never have thought of COVID, but COVID is just an example of a risk, which there are many other equivalent risks that we know that will affect us in business, and something that we need to seriously consider and put that into our plan. Another cartoon I just love, and this is where we're all sitting around, and I think you've all seen this picture before, yeah? Some of you, can you identify to this picture? Can you identify with some of the people who you sit around the table with, where you present to them and you say to them that we need to change, we need to make a difference, something in our strategy does not work, and someone answers, what if we don't change at all? And something magical just happens, right? Anyone knows that? Yes? No? Kadila, I think we have a very quiet room.
They're
right.
probably very concentrating on what you're saying.
So those who've
am.
identified, good. So I basically have come across this. I myself at one point says, things are working. Why do we need to change? Let's wait for things are going to change and we'll have something magical happen. The problem is that it never does. And of course, we need to have a plan to be able to take us through that process. So just some basic introduction, just for 2 minutes, I'd like you to take you through. When we're looking at a strategic model or a plan that we're looking at, generally these plans come up, and a quick raise of hands if you identify with either one of these. When is it time for you to do a strategic plan? Is it because it's goal-based orientated? And those type of people, if you look at the definition, it says probably the most common starts with focus on the organization's mission and vision and your values, the goals to work towards the mission, and who will do what and by when. So that, as you can see, it's very task orientated. It's very goal-based orientated. So a quick show of hands from the group. How many of you believe that when you do sit down with your strategic plan, it's driven because of this model here, because of action-based? A quick show of hands. You can use your hands and your tools. So I don't see many hands for this particular one. Yeah. How many of you believe that it's issue-based? Now, this is a very common one. We generally sit down. So I see Francois has raised a hand. No, not Francois. I'm sorry, it's Lila. So I see issue-based starts by examining issues when there's an issue, right? So most of us go to our strategy because we have a problem. When COVID hit, that's when we went to our strategy, which was filed away in file 13. And sadly, that's when it's sometimes too late, because now you're in crisis mode. The problem with strategic planning is that we know it's important, but it's not urgent. So we keep moving it down our task sheet. Now I'll do the strategy tomorrow. I'll do it next week. I'll do it the following month. What's more important is now. But what happens is when there's a crisis, when issues happen, when there's certain action plans that have not been done or delivered, then that's when we are in crisis mode. And it is then that we then go through doing a strategic plan. So quick show of hands, those of you who are looking at your strategic plan when that happens. Right? Then we have the organic strategic planning. And the organic, of course, is looking where we look at the vision, the values, the action plans, but we adhere to the values. And generally, that should start right at the beginning. So those of you that are business owners that have got a strategic plan, but only look at it when there are issues, or only look at it to see if you're meeting your goals and objectives, here's a bit of an eye-opener, is that you need to be able to look at it through your organization's vision, through the values, but you cannot do it as the sole leader on your own. Those of you that have people working with you, that have people reporting to you, it's important that you get them involved. If you're part of a large organization, the heads of every department should be involved in writing the strategic plan. The myth that the strategic plan is supposed to be written only by the owner of the company, or by the founder of the company, or by the CEO actually is a myth. And it's very important to understand that unless you get the buy-in from the people who's going to carry out the strategy, if you remember the ABC principle, the C part is the methodology of what you're going to do and how you're going to do it, because you can't do it by yourself. Those people have to be involved in the actual process. So then it's important to get them involved in strategic planning from an organic perspective. Right? Are there any questions thus far? No? Yes? Okay, good. Fantastic. So let's move to the next part of the actual session of what we're going to be looking at. If I had to look at, I don't need to go through the slide, but this is an entire strategic plan that I'm not going to take you through for today. We're only going to cover part of it. So your strategic plan, you have to know, will involve your vision, your mission. It will involve your values. Then it will cover your personal and your organizational objectives and priorities. That will be part of your strategic plan. It will have your action plan, but more than an action plan, more importantly, it will have the KPIs, because how are you going to measure yourself that you've achieved what you're supposed to be achieving? Then, of course, it gets into the actual business. It will look at developing your marketing and communication plan. It will look at developing your people development plan. And when we say people development, it's not just about your people or your employees, but your own development plan. What is it that you need to be able to develop to grow your business or to grow yourself? It will look at your operating budget. It will look at forecasting analysis. So this entire template of what you see in front of you is available, and I'm quite happy to share that template with you. So you can use it as a starting point. It will also have a checklist for you to utilize as a starting point that you can work with. So when we run a program on strategic planning, which is a full 3 to 5 day training program, we normally start with the template, you go through it, and by the end of the 5 days that you leave, you would have completed and finalized your strategy with KPIs and a management plan for you to measure the success and the management plan. So notice it also looks at your risk register and the mitigation of that risk register as well. So something very important that all of you need to understand, that a strategic plan of what we're covering today is a very small aspect, and that's this small aspect that we're covering today, but it's much more than that. And when I send you that template, please, I challenge every one of you here today to use that as a workable document, because it is a workable document. You'll see I have notes in red that's highlighted and says, think about this, think about that. And I'm quite happy to work with you on a one-on-one if we have to, or we have another group session to be able to take you through it, right? So I'm going to take you through, I'm not going to discuss this, but I've got put it up on the screen. That's just for you in terms of preparation for the strategic plan. I want you to look at the guidelines, which are extremely important. The first guideline there that you look at is that you have to understand that a strategic plan is actually a process. It's not a plan. We call it a strategic plan, but in actual fact, my take on it is that we should be calling it a strategic process. And the reason for that is it's not a plan, is something that you stick to when you normally go through. With a strategic plan, it changes all the time. So it's a process that if you understand the process, even if the plan changes, you know that you will be able to make the changes as you need. Another thing to remember is that there is no perfect plan. Don't look for a perfect plan. I follow the Bill Gates policy, and that is put it out there when it's even 70% ready. Get started. Don't wait for it to be 100% ready. Get started with actioning the items you have, but at least know where you're wanting to go to. It's the third one there is usually not an aha experience. People wait for, I got my strategic plan. It's like a management process itself. It's a series of very small moves that when you put them together, you find that you actually see direction. So don't wait for that aha moment to say, we've achieved this. No. Celebrate every single small move on your strategic plan. Because I promise you, when you do that, it's really heartwarming. And I talk from experience when I look at the small things that goes towards a strategic plan and we accomplish it, that it just motivates you and inspires you to move forward. In planning, things usually aren't as bad as we fear. We've all got some horrific fears about doing the plan, because you know why? It's also very tedious. People believe it's tedious, and I can tell you, yes, it can be tedious at times. All I'm saying to you is, if we're going to start here today, ladies and gents, let's start simple, but let's start. That's what my challenge to every single one of you here today is, that we get started. So I'm going to get started with the mission, vision, and the values. So I'm going to open up, if you can open up your lines. Can anybody tell me what is the difference between a vision and a mission? Because that's your first step towards creating your strategic plan. What is the difference between a vision and a mission? Who can tell me? So
I kind of sum it up as the what and the how.
The what and the how. Which one's the what? Which one's the how?
The vision is the what, the mission is the how. Yeah.
Okay.
That's kind of how I look at it. Yeah.
Interesting. And a nice way to summarize it. Yes. If somebody else would like to add to that, nice, Suzette. Who would like to add to that? Hi, Wendy. Thanks for joining. And the reason I say hello, Wendy, you're the only one that's unmuted at the moment. Anyone else who would like to give it a blow? No? Yes? Okay.
Yes.
So
maybe yes, if then.
Yes,
I mean,
Francois,
yes,
please.
yes,
Go ahead.
That the vision is where we want to be. So in a business or in a company, the vision is where we want to be, where we want to go, where we want to be in 5 years, 10 years. And the mission is what actually we are doing. I mean, it's where we are. So it's the A, maybe one is the A and one is the B, as you said.
Lovely. Lovely. And that just reiterates a little bit of what Suzette has said earlier, right? So let's go through the whole process. Have anybody heard about Hoshin Kanri?
Yes, the
Static,
Japanese
I'm sure
way of
you
looking
have.
at strategic planning. Yeah, it's Japanese way.
Absolutely. It's a Japanese way of doing strategic planning. It's one of the methods. There are many other methods, but it's one of the methods. Those of you who haven't heard about it, I recommend go and do some research on it. I've just put in a few slides on it. I don't want to complicate it because it can get quite complicated as well. However, it's a technique that helps organizations focus efforts. Notice I've highlighted the word focus efforts, because when you actually look at your vision, it's about focusing your efforts on what your main vision and idea is, and then of course achieving those results. Because if you don't have a focused effort towards it, you'll find achieving results becomes difficult because you wouldn't know what to measure it against. So one of the things when you look at the Hoshin Kanri here, for example, is the first thing is establishing organizational values. It's establishing exactly what those vision is. Then we start looking at the objectives, the annual objectives, the monthly reviews, and so forth. So I just wanted to bring this diagram up for you just to show that even from that model, that this is the very first thing that we need to be able to look at. So let's look at the vision, mission, and the values. When we're looking at the foundation of the strategic plan in itself, we need to look at a formal statement that basically looks at providing a framework where we identify our goals. So before we even get to the goals, we can't do the goals unless we have this formal statement. A lot of people struggle with the formal statement. A lot of people go back and write certain things. But when they read it, they actually realize that it doesn't mean much. I'll give you an example. I traveled recently, well, I can't say recently because it's no more recent. It was in August last year to Africa. And I did a session on strategic planning for a group of top executives of a large organization. In that group, there were about 35 people that were present. And they were all heading up certain divisions and departments. And then, of course, we had the CEO and we had 2 board members that were present in the session. When I asked them, and here's the honest truth, that when I asked them, who can tell me what their vision is of the organization? Out of the 35 people, can anyone guess how many people raised their hands to answer the question? And by the way, the organization, the number of people in the organization that they were all leading was about 230 people that they had in the organization. A quick number that comes up to your mind. How many people?
20%, I guess.
Exactly only 2 people raised their hands. Out of the 2 people, of the 35, we had one of them was the CEO, and the other was one of the senior managers of one of the regional offices. That's it. 2 people who knew, number one, what the vision was, could articulate it as a formal statement, and could tell me how they align and utilize the vision in order to identify their strategic goals. Now, in an organization like that, where the leaders themselves don't know and cannot articulate the vision, you already know there are issues. And believe me, in that organization, the reason I was called in, I worked with them for almost 1.5 years. The reason I was called in was to be able to take them through all the issues that they were currently going through, because they were going through retrenchments, they were going through losing staff who just moved from one position to another out of the company, and they needed help. So the reason they were there is, one of the main reasons is because people had no vision. They had no idea what they were doing, why they were doing, because all they were doing was target orientated. That's it. So the statement needs to provide a vision or a target goal that we are looking for. It needs to define the why, in terms of why do we actually want to be there. You'll find that this, of course, has to be the first step. So when we look at this, those of you who have a vision already, who would like to volunteer a vision of your organization that you have? If you have one already, who has a vision, who would like to volunteer? Anyone who would like to volunteer your vision? Okay, Kadela, Iwas has a vision, right?
Yes.
Okay, can you share with us what your vision is?
To become a sustainable women entrepreneur platform that will help and support other women by showcasing their products and services.
Good, fantastic. So thank you for sharing that. Now, here's the thing, ladies and gents, what I'd like you to do is, those of you who know your vision, your first step is to write it down. If you've got a vision, you write it down. If you don't have a vision, of course, we're going to start from scratch. So what I'm giving you now is the process of strategic planning, all right? So the first step is write your vision down. And as you write your vision down, here's your guidance up on the screen. People often confuse the vision and mission. As I discussed with you, the vision captures how you want the world to change. So Kadela and the others, and we're not going to evaluate each person's vision, but I want you to look at your vision. And the first question you need to ask yourself is, does it capture how you want, and notice how you want the world to change? Because with your vision, we dream big. All right. The mission is about your organization's purpose in terms of how you're going to get the world to change. All right. So when you're looking at the two to differentiate, this is where you capture the world, because your business is within this world. So it doesn't even matter if you're only a business in Washington, D.C., whether you're a business in Mauritius, whether you're in business in India or in Pakistan. It doesn't matter, because sooner or later, we want you to start to dream big. Whether your intention is to scale or not, it might not be now, but remember, a strategic plan is about understanding what are the possibilities for your business. So when you're thinking of your vision, I want you to look at it and capture it for what you want the world to change. And the mission, of course, is the organizational purpose. So the first part of the process is to differentiate the two. The second part of the process is to look at the vision statement as a photograph of your future's business, which gives your business shape and direction. So when we look at that, it is more like Suzette says, and very well said, Suzette, it is more about the what of a business. It provides the actual direction. It describes what you as a founder want the organization to achieve in the future. And this is why it's important that when you're designing this vision, you might want to do it initially on your own and then call in the team and say, guys, here's the vision, here's what I have. Because there are possibilities that what you see, others might not see the same thing, and they might allow you to see things slightly differently, which allows you to dream even bigger. So don't feel afraid to bounce this off people as you go along. It is different, as we said, from the mission statement, and like Suzette mentioned, is the how of the actual business. Very correctly said, right? So ask yourself the question, if you were to take a photo of your future business now, what would it look like? Think about that. If you were to take a photo, an actual practical photo, those of you who's joined us, and I think Wendy is here, I'm not sure if our other NLP trainers are here, you will know that, and I'm sure you'll coach them as well from a perspective is think about a picture, get a picture in your mind's eye of what you want. And when you get that picture in your mind's eye, you know, see it, hear it, feel it, get the full VAK, the visual, the auditory, the kinesthetic feeling of that. And when you do that, is what do you want your business to be recognized for one day? Because that is what your vision should be, and that's what you should write. So dream big. Don't stop yourselves from dreaming big, right? Here's for you to revisit your organization's vision. Those of you already have your visions there. It's a world where every person is living and working to their full potential. The result of your good works, the possible of those of others that are there with you. It tells everyone the type of community or the world, the organization and visions. Your vision will serve as the overall goal for which strategies will be developed. So when you start and you get that right, it's like getting the foundation right first, ladies and gents. So some key points I want you to look at as an activity. So I will be sending these slides out to you, Kadela. Please feel free to share it with everyone.
Yes, please.
So when you are designing this, and by the way, when I send this to you, I'll send it to you in a Word document so it becomes a practical for you to work through, an actual template. So here is an activity. For you to design your vision, I want you to develop your vision. If your organization could serve every single person who needs your services, whether it's something you are selling, whether it's a service, whatever it is, I want you to capture what the world would be like if you could do this in just 3 to 5 sentences. When focusing on your vision, you're not focusing on your company. You are focusing on the world. You are focusing on outside. You are focusing on your target market. Please remember that's the main differentiator of a vision and a mission. When the moment you start to focus on your company of what you are doing, then you know you're moving into the mission. Does that make sense? Yeah. So I want you to focus on that. Your guidance here is that this is a place to really, as I said, dream big. Imagine your organization was wildly successful. And I know that, and no objection to the men, and no disregard for the men, but as women, we love to dream, right? So this is not going to be an issue for us. Go with imagine that you have unlimited resources. You have no barriers whatsoever. And I want you to dream about how would the lives of your services or the service users or the community that you are serving is going to change if you have absolutely no boundaries. And when you do that, your vision will start to inspire because it will focus on serving the world. And it is often the ideal result and is much bigger than who you are. A lot of us as business owners and women in particular, we sometimes forget that when we're doing our strategy, We limit ourselves just to what we have because we think we have these as limitations. But that's why when COVID hit and many of us who wrote our strategic plans, that's where we got stuck. Because we limited our dream of our vision, we had no immediate answers. It took us months before we could find new solutions, new avenues for us to bring an income in. So when you build this in your strategic plan right from the beginning, it's very important that you dream big. And I'm really encouraging you to be able to do that here today. Again, a reminder, when you're doing this, if you've got a team, please get them involved. Do a brainstorming session, have fun with them, put up, flip chart stands, get colorful sticky notes, whatever it is, but make it exciting. Get people to give their views. Because when you design a vision that is shared, like examples is Walt Disney, they had a shared vision with their people that if you go to Walt Disney and even if you ask a street sweeper for directions to anywhere, they will be so excited to help you because they share the vision with you, even if it's just a street sweeper. Get your people involved in designing that vision, right? Are there any questions thus far? Yes, no?
Clear.
Okay. All right, good. So let's give you some examples. We have examples of Disney, simple, to make people happy. A world without poverty, Oxfam. Look at IKEA's. Look at how simple, to create a better everyday life for many people, right? Microsoft, to be able to empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. And by the way, if you look at this one here, there are different types as well. This one's headed up as quantitative statements. In other words, it focuses on numbers and quantities. Can you see that? Every organization, every person on the planet. Look at Nike. Bring inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world. If you have a body, you are an athlete, right? Isn't very unique, very subtle, but it gets to the actual point. These are examples of some qualitative. In other words, they are based on qualities that you want to have. People working together as a lean global enterprise to make people's lives better through automated and mobility leadership. That's Ford. Us as ladies, Avon, to be the company that best understands and satisfies the product, service, and self-fulfillment needs of women globally. Can you see it's looking at qualitative as opposed to the previous ones that are quantitative. There are no rights or wrong to these statements. Basically, it's dreaming big, and I'll give you an actual checklist now to check yours as well. Here's a nice one from Walmart, which is longer, but a more detailed vision statement. To give customers a wide assortment of their favorite products every day, low price, guaranteed satisfaction, friendly service, convenient hours, 24 hours, 7 days a week, and a great online shopping experience. Notice here, the reason these are also quite long is that they have mixed a little bit of their mission because they're looking at what they need to do, but their bottom end is dreaming big about giving an online shopping experience. They're focusing on what the customer wants. They're focusing more on the outside of what they will receive. They will get friendly service. They'll get guaranteed satisfaction. They'll get everyday low prices. And notice when you look at these longer detailed vision statements, it becomes easier for the organization to share because there's no room for misunderstanding. So if I walk into Walmart tomorrow and I don't get an everyday low price, as a client, I can see that, and therefore I'll hold them answerable to it. So management has to ensure that they follow by this, and this becomes their part of the immediate strategic plan, because everything they strategize, their actions, their price structure, their marketing, everything now evolves around this particular vision. Can you see how this is a starting point to your strategic plan, right? There's of course many others. I'm not going to go into these detailed ones. I'll send you these as examples, but on the end of this part to it with your checklist. This checklist is part of the template I'll send you. The question you need to ask yourself is, Does it excite you? When you're reading your vision statement, just think about it now. When you're reading it, does it excite you? Does it tell the world about the good you're wanting to do? Is it bigger than you? In other words, is it more than you can do alone? Notice I said you can't achieve your vision on your own. Is it more than you can? Because the moment your vision is there and, I can do this by myself in 1 year, you're not dreaming big enough. Is it simple? Is it clear? In other words, that there is no misunderstanding when I read it. The words are completely clear. There is no ambiguity to the meaning of a word. The moment there's ambiguity to a meaning of the word and it's interpreted differently by even your staff members, that means there's going to be more ambiguity when it goes out to your clients. So ask these questions, ask it internally, have a tick next to each one of these on the checkbox before you actually announce your vision. Is it about what you can give instead of what you will get? Right, so that's your checklist, and that's the end of that section on the vision. Are there any questions? I see we've got 2 hands thus far that I can see. I'm sure there are more. One is from Leela and one from Dr. Nangush. So Leela, I see your hand has been up for a while. Question from you, and then I hand over to Mr. Nangush. Leela, are you there?
Yes, hello, Dr. Hawa. Thank you very much for this amazing session. As usual, you're just so brilliant. I just love listening. My question is, when you are in an organization, now you talked about the strategic planning models, that's on the bigger picture. How do you actually consider during the course of your working, like you come up with issues like non-conformances and certain things which are going on in an organization, which prompt you to come up with, kind of brainstorming meetings and then come up with looking at your strategic plan again. So what do you call those activities? Is it like do they remain like brainstorming to update the strategic plan, or do you have something different for these kind of action plans that happen?
So here's the thing about a strategic plan. Remember, we said it's a process. So there are times we might have to go back to go and re-look what we have in our strategy. But I'd like to just remind everyone that you're never going to appease everyone in your organization, or even, make all your clients actually happy. What you need to be able to look at is, once you are designing your strategic plan and coming up with your vision, and you say, this is our vision, your action plan should be associated to that particular vision. If people find different ways of doing it, but they're getting to the same place, the question I ask everyone is, does it matter? So a lot of managers in senior positions will tell you, no, but they have to do it this way because this way it actually works. My question to them is, if they can achieve the same thing in possibly even a shorter time or the same time, but going through a different methodology, how is it going to impact your bottom line? And if there is no impact, the conflict shouldn't be there. So your strategy and your strategic plan in terms of your vision, as much as there might be problems, there will be issues that are coming along, your plan needs to be the go-to document that you can always go to and say, guys, just a reminder, what is our vision? What are we focusing on? Perhaps maybe they have misunderstood the vision when that conflict comes out. Then, of course, it's a different thing. But if there's something in your vision, like, for example, in that organization, when we were going through the vision, there were things that I asked the CEO and I said, do you believe this vision? And she said, yes, wholeheartedly. And I said, what for me in that vision is not working for you right now? And it took her not even 2 minutes, but she knew that as much as she loved the vision, she actually said, Hawa, you know what that point in that vision, we don't practice every day. I said, well, is it needed? And she said, no. So I said, so if you remove it, how's it going to impact? She says, actually, people will start to work better. Amazingly, the applause in the room for her was just great, because for the first time, they heard their CEO admit that the vision that they had was not the correct vision. And sometimes as leaders and as founders, we think we know everything. We need to open up to our team to tell us, hang on, things are not working. So I wouldn't want to see it as conflict. I would like to see it as, discussions, brainstorming, and there's a methodology. Leela, what I can do is I can always share you a kind of a methodology of how to actually go about it as soon as we have more time on it as well. Right?
Thank you. So, but then when you are actually working externally with customers, for example, channel partners, you do strategic business planning with them. That's a little bit on a different platform as well. It's not really the company business planning, but it's more related to a mutual business planning that you're doing with a channel partner, for example. So you call those different.
Just a question, it should not deviate from your overall plan, yeah?
Yes.
Even if you got collaborators coming on board, because the problem we have is that we have a vision. The moment you have collaborators coming on board and they're asking you to change things, there's a possibility you can get sucked into someone else's vision. And you lose focus of who you are and why you exist. So just a reminder there.
Yes.
Santosh, over to you. Unmute yourself. Yep.
Oh, nice to see your face, Leela. Just by the way. Okay, Dr. Hawa, thank you so much for the talk. It's really very interesting and it's really going into details and giving really the practical tips to write down a vision. Actually, I want to say that at the beginning, I was kind of silent because vision, mission, and values is something for scientific like me, is far from me actually. And my business is just like a solo, no? I'm a coach solo. So it's not always easy to write it down like this. And I just found actually that I made an effort to write it down maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago only, and I found it. I would like to share with you and just let me know what you think about it, because
great. So what I'd like you to do as you're sharing, with your permission, I'd like feedback from the audience now to come back, because you've got a checklist in front of you. All right. So as Dr. Nangush is reading it up, here's a practical example, and we thank you for doing that. So you've got a practical example of somebody who's reading their vision. And the feedback we want to give her is, number one, does it excite you when you hear it? Number two, does it tell the world about what she actually wants to do? Is it bigger than her? All right. Is it simple? Is it clear? Does it eliminate all the ambiguity? And is it about what she can give to the world as opposed to what she will get? So thank you, Dr. Nangush, for being able to share this with us and for using you as an example.
Oh, yes, that is more than what I can expect, because I just wanted maybe your thought about it. And
so go for it, and we're going to get feedback, because it also gives the more people learn and go through the process. If they're analyzing yours, they can then analyze their own as well. So let's go for it. Let's go.
Great. Okay, first draft only. Okay, so my vision is to create and develop knowledgeable and awakened communities where people are healthy and happy.
Okay, so if you can repeat that again, to create and develop.
To create and develop knowledgeable and awakened communities where people are healthy and happy.
Good, fantastic.
As a health coach.
As a health coach. Now remember, her business is as a health coach.
Health coach and self-healing coach, mentor, or facilitator, or whatever we can call it. Yeah.
Right. So first questions to you, Dr. Nangush. When you're reading that out right now, does it excite you?
I think so, yes.
Good. Does it tell the world about the good you're wanting to do?
Yes.
Is it bigger than you?
Surely.
Okay.
Well,
do you think it could be more bigger than you at the moment?
It can be, yes, it can be, but it can be even bigger.
Good. Is it simple? Does ambiguity exist anywhere in the words that you use? I want you to look at your first sentence. To be able to create and develop. So just considering the words create and develop as an example, all right? Could that be misunderstood in any way by anyone as to what you'll be able to do for them? right? Something to think about. I want you to think about it, all right?
Yeah.
Is it simple? Is it clear? Is it what you want to give instead of what you will get?
Yes, for sure.
Good.
That one I can tick.
Right. Now let's ask the audience. Okay, what do you think? Anyone? Let's start with one person. I see we have, I'm not sure, is this a Mr. Subhash or is it a Miss Subhash? Please forgive me. I can't see a face, I just see a name. What do you think? Suzette, what do you think? Leela, Cadella, Francois? Anyone that you want to comment on? Does it excite you when you hear it?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah? Do you think it can be bigger? Can she add one or two things that might make it bigger in terms of what she wants?
Can you please repeat it once more, Nonush, if you don't mind?
Yes.
One more.
Yes. My vision is to create. Oops, somebody is talking. Okay. My vision is to create and develop knowledgeable and awakened communities where people are healthy and happy.
Yeah, I think it's bigger than you because when I hear awakened communities, I don't see that as a action of one. And I love the word awaken. That is such a fantastic word to use. So it excites me in terms of awakening the communities. I'm like, wow, what would that look like? So to give feedback in terms of, is it bigger than you? Absolutely, you are going to awaken communities. This is a huge undertaking in my mind for someone. Even though it's simple in terms of how you say it, I get it, but it has an impact to it that I think really talks about capacity and capabilities of not just one, but many.
Good.
That's
so if you
feedback.
had a health issue and you need a health coach, would you seriously consider Dr. Nangush?
Yes. Yes.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Mr. Atik, you have your hand raised.
I
and I'll hand over
that.
to you.
Sorry, okay.
Leela, just before I hand to you, I'll hand over to Mr. Atik.
Yes, please.
Okay, Nagush, it's just a small recommendation from my side. I don't want to echo what Dr. Hawa is saying. I mean, we are from the both field. Try to replace where you have people with community and where you have used the word community with people. And see the difference.
You want to maybe elaborate and tell her why you would make that
Yeah,
recommendation,
so
Mr. Atik?
that's what I'm saying. See the difference. When she will read, she will understand the difference itself.
Yes.
You can awaken a person, not a community, and you can make a difference in a community rather than a person.
Lovely.
Yes.
Lovely.
Thank you.
And you'll also notice that when you start to personalize things, instead of putting people within an actual group, they tend to be build more rapport with you as well. So build that into your process where you can always then say leading to whatever community you want to, but bring the personal image to it. I like that.
I can give her a one-to-one if she likes on developing this further. But yeah, immediately I could see this can make a lot of difference by replacing two words.
Yeah, it makes totally sense. And thank you so much, Atik.
And thank you, Dr. Nangush, for offering to be open about this, because this is what the session is. And I said this right from the beginning, ladies, and gents, is that today it's not about the quantity of strategic planning. I can go on for hours and days and weeks on strategic planning, but the foundation is getting it right from the beginning. And the foundation of getting your vision is important. Some people will spend 5 minutes and they got it right just like that. But there are some people that will spend actually a whole week going back, changing. And coaches, we have a few here online at the moment. We have Mr. Atik, we have, I think it's Natalie. We have a few people that are here. So please utilize them as your resources as well. Yeah.
And thank you so much for the feedback, because I always consider the feedback as a gift, really. And I really listen to that with a lot of gratitude. Thank you.
I do know from a time perspective, we're running a little out of time. I'm going to just quickly round off. At least I want to get to completing the mission. And then, of course, we'll open up to questions again for those who want to stay behind. Kadela, I thank you so much. I hope we can go into extra time. So with your permission first, are we able to go into extra time? Obviously, those that can stay, more than welcome. And those who need to leave, we respect you 100% and we understand fully.
Yes, please. Yeah. If you can stay, guys, this is an interesting topic. So, yeah.
Good. Thank you, Kadela. All right. So, Alila, I'll come back to you as soon as I finish the section and then we'll come back to you. So hold your thought, write it down. It's what I call putting it on the parking lot. And we'll, as soon as we finish what we need to, I'll go back to you. And then pending on time, people who would like to stay behind can stay in. So let's just quickly look at the mission statement, because at least by the end of today, when you leave, I want you to go back, have a practical session and complete your vision and mission. And those of you who have got one, go and relook at it. All right. So when looking at your mission statement, we said it is what you as an organization is going to do. What are you going to do for and how will you achieve your vision? So it has to speak to your vision. And that's very important that we need to look at. So when looking at that, I want you to consider that it's a very powerful tool. It's your why. You know, I always like to ask people, what's your why? All right, it's why you exist, it's your strategy, it's your core, because when you look at your why from your vision, when you look at it, your identity, your culture, because what it can do is it actually will steer you towards success. So the two together becomes your complete why of your existence as a person and as a business. Now, remember, today we're talking purely from a business perspective. But don't only isolate this to business. Think about this when people ask you why you exist. What's your purpose? What's your what is your why in life? Many of us stutter and we think, I don't know. I just live from day to day. I feed the kids. I do this. I go to work. I come back. Well, why are you here? Why do you exist? And the first time that hit me was when I was being interviewed by a magazine a good few years ago in Africa. And the question that person actually asked me is, Hawa, if you had to die today, do you believe that you achieved your why? For me, that was big because I never ever thought about the day that I die. Yes, we all think about it, but I never thought that it would be this soon where somebody asked me this question. And it took me a while to think and answer that question. So I want you to be able to really think about this very, very carefully. All right. So the activity now is to design your mission. And thank you very much, Dr. Vanessa. Some of you, I know you need to leave. I appreciate it. And I'm sure Kadela will send you the recording. So thank you very much. So when you're looking at your mission, we need to look at your mission statement, which will reflect your short-term goals or your long-term aspirations. But they should all share 4 key elements in your mission. It should look at the value that you will bring. It should look at how you will be inspired. It should look at that it must be believable. It must be credible. A lot of people write up a mission and, you know, when you actually go there and you see the service, you actually laugh because it becomes a mockery. Because then people say, this is what these people put in their vision and their mission, but it's not credible. So make sure that whatever you're putting down is that it's credible, it's believable. And more importantly, people are afraid to be specific. Be specific, right? So those are 4 key elements that you should consider when you're looking at this. Some do's and don'ts is don't talk about the company. Because when you do that, I mean, people are going to read your biography and about your company and your profile later. We don't want to waste the time of our mission when we talk about the company. Don't mention process, you know, in terms of this is how you're going to do it. We don't want to know process. Because nobody really cares about that process right now. All we want to know is what exactly are you going to do, right? Focus solely on the results of the customer and what they will get from actually working from you. Focus on that. Share the results as an outcome. Like I think Dr. Nangush, you've put it, you've shared the results to say that, you know, they will be healthy. It's an actual result, right? An authentic result. and try and personalize it by expressing it from an emotional perspective as well. People, whether we like it or not, we are emotional beings, and we are attracted to emotional messages. So look at that. And just a book for all of you, if you haven't read Words That Change Minds, write this down. It's called Words That Change Minds. I'm a qualified practitioner on the IWAM, which is Inventory, Work, Attitude, and Motivational Coaching. But the source of that comes from, I stand corrected, but the author is Cheryl Cavey. I sent a correction on that, but I think Cheryl Cavey, I'll get the right name. But the name of the book is actually called Words That Change Minds. If I can please ask, I think it's Ms. Subhash, if I can just put that on mute, that would be great. Thank you. Okay, good. So again, those are some of the do's, so some of the don'ts. When you're going into your actual mission statement, here's an example. Fitbit, for example, has got the mission statement to empower and inspire you to live a healthier, more active life. We design products and experiences that fit seamlessly into your life so you can achieve your health and fitness goals, whatever they may be. So now here's a nice example of someone who's also focusing on health and fitness, something to look at, compare with what you have. But of course, you don't need to duplicate, but what you can do is look at it as an example as to how they focus on those 4 keys that I mentioned earlier. So bear with me, I'm just whizzing through this so I get to the checklist and then we end off at that point. Here is, for example, Spotify, and notice a slightly longer mission, but look at how appropriate. To unlock the potential of human creativity by giving 1 million creative artists the opportunity. Notice how quantitative this is. By giving 1 million creative artists the opportunity to live off their art and billions of fans the opportunity to enjoy and be inspired by these creators. So can you see how they've utilized qualitative and quantitative in this particular mission statement? We're not saying that it's 100% and all of you need to do this, but a very nice example of how you can utilize something which has a much longer mission statement, because they even break it down to 3 aspects, and they even say why it works, and they even look at numbers that they're willing to achieve. Now, it doesn't mean that they're not dreaming big because they're limiting their numbers. They are also being believable. Because when you put a number that's there and say, hang on, this is what I know we're able to do. If we do more than this, fantastically. But our mission is to be able to get to this particular point. That's their mission. So something to look at. I'm showing you different examples of different mission statements. So you don't need to be stuck onto that I just need a 1-liner or I need 2 to 3 lines. Because getting your mission and your vision right for your strategic plan is one of the most important aspects of your strategic plan. Your checklist, does it tell the world about the purpose of your organization? In other words, what is it that you stand for? What is it that you will do, right? Is it clear? Is it simple? In other words, there's no ambiguity that makes people think, I'm not too sure what they actually do. So when listening to your mission statement, if nobody knew you as a person, nobody knew what you do, by listening to your vision and your mission, does it actually tell them what you do? Will it keep, or will it help keep you focused on the right things? And the next session, inshallah, that I will have with you, obviously with the permission of Kadela, is take you through the difference of when you're setting up your goals of what is efficiency and what is effectiveness. And there's a huge difference because many of us focus on important things, but they might not be the right things. So are you doing the right things at the right time? That's important. So does your mission focus on the right things? Does it link in well with your vision? And does it tell people your part in delivering that vision? So if your vision was to create this healthy society, this healthy community, healthy people, which makes up a healthy community, if that is going to be your vision, does it tell people your part? What part are you playing? What are you going to do to make sure that people reach that? Does it tell the world about the purpose of why you exist? There's a repetition of that, but it just gives you the idea there. Yeah. So quick questions on the mission and the vision, and we can then open up to the floor and close up. So the options are there. I mean, we have Mr. Tick, we have myself, we have a few other coaches and mentors that I'm sure will join us. And I think, Kadela, just creating the space to allow for the practical side of this. For me, the theory is lovely. It's fantastic. I love it. But unless we actually get people in a room, so those of you who are attending our May session, and you know that we're running the summit, but alongside the summit, there is a training program that's running from the 9th to the 11th. Mr. Atik is also going to get involved as one of the guest speakers as well. So please, I urge you to be able to sorry, just 1 second. Okay, thank you. Sorry, that was just, you know, when you're working from home and you have hubby making a sign to you that coffee is ready. So, just to remind you that there is an opportunity for you to pop in, come in for the session where we'll take you through fully. But the practical sessions, Kadela, needs to happen where everybody's in a room, and by the time they leave, their vision is done, their mission is complete, their action plans are done, their goals, strategic goals are prioritized. They've done their marketing strategy, because part of your strategic plan is having a marketing plan. Your risk mitigation factors are identified, and that's not going to happen overnight in a 1.5 to 2 hour session. Right. But here's the start, ladies. I am going to be emailing the template to Kadela. All you have to do is go through the template, work with it, and you already have people like Mr. Atik, myself, a few of the other coaches I know that will be very happy to be able to answer any of the questions that you might have. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hawa, for this really absolutely amazing session.
Thank you, Dr.
Really, and I think that probably a workshop to follow this is a kind
Absolutely.
of
a longer workshop, Dr. Hawa.
Absolutely.
A longer one that can tackle everything.
Like I said, we've got the one session, but if we have to be able to open up more sessions and let's make it affordable to everyone as well, we'll definitely look at that. We have two hands. We have Leela. I know your hand has been up for a while, so I'll definitely take your question now. And you have Mr. Atik. So,
mine is very quick. Mine is a very quick question, which is referring to Dr. Nanush's vision statement. And when you mentioned about the vision, it's not about yourself, but about what the world needs. What if on her statement, the create and develop is removed? And it just directly, because create and develop is about herself, whereas the rest of the statement is about the world. So if you remove that, for example, how would it come up to be in line with what you have been, what we've been discussing so far as the world? I mean, what I gathered now from what we discussed was vision is more about what you want the world to get from you. And mission is about the company or your objectives that you want to meet. So if I would like to request Dr. Nanush to read the statement again without the create and develop and see how it sounds.
Okay, so what I'd like you to do, Dustin and Gersh, is to consider that. Look, it's a good thing to look at it, that if you had to remove it or turn it around, instead of, verbs about what you can do, which is create and develop. In other words, if you created something or developed something, what is the world going to get in return? And re-look at those particular words as an option, provided, and very importantly, I have to say this to you, is that it should not deviate from your objective and your vision. So play around with the words, and it's sometimes, even if you now change it now or think about it now, of course, that's going to be another whole brainstorming session. but I want you to utilize by going through it, and please feel free to pass it through by me. You know, I'm available. Most of you have, I'm with you on WhatsApp anyway. So go on to WhatsApp, just send me a message. How I really looked at it, this is what I'm looking at, or this is my vision, this is my mission. And I promise you, I might not get back to you immediately in that day, but it is sometime in the late evening, I do go through my messages. And if it's this related or work related, I definitely do come back to you at least within 3-4 hours.
And
so
I
take you up on that challenge, Leela, as well. Thank
and
you.
I really want to join my hands and say a very big thank you to Dr. Nanush, because it's so wonderful and so brave and so lovely of you to share with us your example.
Agreed.
Because it's amazing. I mean, really, I join my hands and say a big thank you to you.
Yes,
Absolutely.
agreed.
Thank you.
Agreed.
Thank you very
Agreed.
much. And ladies, here's the challenge. Here's the challenge. When we do meet one-on-one and we do the training with you in a physical environment, I will be challenging every single one of you. So, because that's the only way we're going to get this right. So I will definitely challenge you, and I know that our team will as well. Mr. Atik?
Well, thank you so very much for a very enlightening session. I just want to add a little bit onto the vision part. In simple words, is the only way, they say the only way to predict the future is to have the power to shape it. And your vision is that power which shapes your future as you predicted. So all the very best, and then keep working on your vision. Remember, it's a long-term thing, but then it can change.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and keep it as a living thing rather than just a piece of paper. So all the very best.
Take it out of file 13. Agreed.
Yeah.
Well done. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Hawa, once again. So
thank you. Thank you, Mr. Atik, for joining us. So just in closing, I want to tell you that the strategic planning, as I've mentioned, is not just the vision and mission. Please know that that's your starting point. That is your foundation. Once you've done that, you'll see the template I'll send you is the entire template of a strategic plan. And with that, it's got headings, it's got guidance, there are notes in red for you as well, asking you questions to complete A, B, and C. Utilize this. It's consider this as a gift to you to start the process. And once you've started, when we do have more sessions online, I can then start to look at them on a one-on-one basis. So good luck. And Kadela, I'm sure you've got a list of all the people who have registered for the session today. So just as a gift to everyone who has registered and who have attended, is you all know, if you go online to the training that's taking place in May, there's a 3-day training program where you'll attend the training, you'll get certified. We are accredited as well with KHDA, plus there's international accreditation as well with all the training programs. So with that, you will also get attendance and access into the 2-day conference and the summit if you attend the training. And also there's a 30-day online program for startups and entrepreneurs on business and innovation. So it's all inclusive of that. At the moment, if you look at the costing, it might seem quite high, but it's sitting at about $1,500 at the moment. Which for a 3-day training program in Dirham's perspective, it's about 4,500 dirhams. And the fee for that we are looking at is almost, sorry, Rashid is giving me a figure, which is about, hang on one second.
Nearly 6,000.
$900. So it's
Okay.
$900. He's
Yeah.
worked out something special, and that's the reason I had to check with him, because he was working out the special. So it's working out to almost 40% discount. So for anyone who wants to register for the training, please feel free to do so. But what we've done is we've thrown in the 30-day startup kit with the entrepreneurship kit, which you will be able to have with a coach, a live coach for 30 days. It will be done online with you, plus the 3 days of face-to-face training. And then, of course, as well, to attend the summit at no additional cost to the summit. So please, I look forward to having you, and I look forward to working with you. Other than that, Kadela will work with you on the other sessions. And of course, I'll be more than happy to run more sessions for IWES and her team.
Wonderful. Can I just add something?
Sure.
It took me 6 weeks to come out with my vision. This is how much you should take. Actually, to come out with a real vision, you need time, and then it could go up
Working
to
time.
that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So please take your time, and that's why the 30-day practicals with it as well, you know, is that you're working on it, you're sending it back and forth, your coach is there. We've got 2 or 3 coaches that will be there, part of the session, to help you, and we're very happy to announce it that Mr. Atik is one of our partners on the program as well. So you don't only look at it from a female's perspective, we've got a male's perspective as well.
Thank you so very much. So nice of you.
Thank you, ladies and gents. We'll keep up, but please remember what we did today is only this portion of the entire strategic plan.
Yeah, and so exciting as well. Thank you so much, Dr. Hawa, for your time and the very insightful session tonight. We look forward for the next one.
Inshallah. Thank you very
very
much,
excited.
Kadela, for organizing this, and the whole team of IRIS. I really appreciate it. You guys are doing I shouldn't say guys, I'm so used to saying that. You ladies are doing a phenomenal job, and I applaud you, and I will always be there to support you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.